Okay, that's up. How's it? I need to stop saying that, like, you know, I have some sort of idea when information is going to stop on this, because clearly I don't. Every time, man, I'm like, hi, well, that's, you know, that's everything. I'll see you guys on the 19th. They go and just drop another video. And this one's on console performance, so we have to look at it. Have to. It is PS5 Pro though, not PS5 standard, like base. So just keep that in mind. But still gotta look at it, right? Okay, that's up, that's up. I'm splitting audio channels, so I just want to make sure that everything is working and coming through. Looks like it is. That looks happy, so. Let's go. So this is on the console. It's on the Pro.
When you attempt to explain a game like Crimson Desert to a colleague, it almost sounds like a fake game that you might have tried to pass off to your classmates back in the day. Like, I drifted my horse around the fields before stumbling into a giant circus performance, after which I made my way to the hills of the great bug wars between giant metallic insects and gun-toting soldiers before visiting the fortress of the giant robots. After which I took a stroll along the beach before stumbling into a large city where I became a wanted criminal, only to escape by jumping off the castle's wall,
and flying,
to then find myself lost in a rainforest during a storm at night, before eventually emerging out into the Crimson Desert itself and climbing to its highest point to see the world that I had just traversed. Oh, and there's dragons you can fly around on, and giant bosses like Shadow of the Colossus, and you can
in the best possible
like
way.
Spider-Man, and the combat makes you feel like a medieval John Wick. Like, seriously, I'm not one to normally get excited about open world games, as followers of DF might know, but Crimson Desert is crazy and ambitious in a way that I quickly became enamored with. I just wanted to see what was over the next hill. It really brought back that thrill of exploration. But all this ambition does not come for free, and nearly all of the promotional footage leading up to launch has focused on the PC version, which looks obscenely good, leaving people to wonder, did they hide the console version? Is it actually any good? Well, DF friends, wonder no more. Everything you've been seeing here today thus far has been captured from the console version of the game, and today we'll be exploring that experience. For this initial video, however, there is a word of caution. We've only had access to the PlayStation 5 Pro version thus far, but fear not, the other consoles are incoming soon, and we'll tackle them in due time. For now, though, let's dive in.
The base PS5 is quite a bit less in terms of like raw performance. Right, PS5 Pro is sitting at 16.7 teraflops. PS5 base is 10.28. So 36 compute units versus 60. 45% faster rendering overall. It's quite a bit, bro. It's quite a bit. Look, that's just raw horsepower. So, you know, it may not. Yeah, we need to see. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Thanks, bro. In work mode still. It's just been doing year end, man. Jesus, been a bit chaotic. And every time I think like, oh, I'm gonna have a chilled evening, they go drop another video. So I'm like, well, gotta jump in and have a look at that. You know, how you doing, dude? Are you, what time is it your side? Are you just getting back from work, or are you getting ready to head in? Had to look at this as well. I mean, just had to. But yeah, I'm literally just looking at the specs for base PS5 versus PS Pro. And quality mode is 4K 30, performance is 60, but lower res or simpler graphics. Pro, get best of both. Look, this is AI's version, you know, of the info. Plus, the Pro gets PSSR, which is essentially like AI upscalers. Base console does not.
Looking for a new high-quality gaming display? MSI has a range of excellent options for all
brought to you
budgets
by
across
MSI.
its white monitor range with selected models at sale prices. On the top-end QD OLED side, there's the MPG 321URXW 4K 32-inch 240Hz with adaptive sync, OLED Care burn-in protection, and that's backed by a 3-year warranty. Also, check out more attractively priced screens, including the 4K Mini LED MPG 274URD FW-E16M. And
Jesus,
for the
that's a mouthful.
budget-conscious gamer looking for the ultra-wide 1440p experience, consider...
No, thank you. Not ultra wides.
Crimson Desert is a rare and exciting moment for us.
Doing right? Looking forward to the game? Yeah,
in a
man.
landscape where Unreal
No
Engine
life, no, agreed.
and where its strengths
It's going to replace every game on the
largely
channel.
Predictable, Pearl Abyss has arrived with something genuinely new to explore. Their black space.
What are you going to be playing yours on?
Results that are nothing short of remarkable. Yeah, there's some jank to contend with, of course, and we'll get to that. But the overall impression it leaves is striking. From performance to crowd behavior, animation, freedom, foliage, lighting,
PS5.
everything. It is a stunning game. And on PS5
this
Pro
is on
here,
Pro.
You actually don't lose that much. For starters, the game's ray tracing features are fully present and accounted for on the Pro. The ray traced diffuse global illumination we highlighted in our PC preview, the per pixel solution, yeah, it's enabled here. This gives the game a fully dynamic, ray-traced-driven lighting system.
Sure.
Sunlight pouring into a room naturally bounces across surfaces, creating dramatic, believable scenes, and it's all done fully dynamically. The same is true of local lights, which produce...
I don't think we're going to have that on the base consoles.
You have a lantern in your inventory, for instance, which you can pull out at any time, and the light from your lantern produces ultra-dramatic scenes, especially at night where light is scarce. Scenes like this are particularly impressive. This battle here has lights being generated by the enemies that you're fighting, and all of it is fully real time with shadows and lights dancing realistically across the terrain.
Sure.
It makes the battle feel so dynamic. The lighting has a distinctive quality that makes the world feel more convincing than most current-gen games. The bright blue skies stand out immediately, and the environment around your character shows clear atmospheric light scattering.
That being said, though, like, again, this is on previous gen. If I'm thinking about, like, so this is currently PS5 Pro, right? Yeah, it is. But the max PC settings are on previous gen hardware. So base PS5, will it have, there's 3 modes on this one as well. I'm sure the PS5 then base will have 2. Like we'll be able to select between quality and performance. I don't know.
Time of day system also pays off. Days and
like
night.
What would you rather play? Would you want to do like quality 30 frames, or what do you want to do? You're like, you know, maybe performance would be like between, I don't know, maybe it's an unlocked, but it's like 1440. I don't know. It also depends. I mean, somebody was saying the other day, that, in fact, on the last video, that like a lot of people have 1440 or 1080p TVs still. So, you know, there it's like, well, yeah, I don't know.
Last longer than you usually see in games, and nighttime is genuinely dark. Closer to something like, say, Dragon's Dogma, but with stronger, more consistent ray-traced lighting. Ray tracing is enabled across all 3 modes, by the way.
Okay, so that's quality versus optimized. Yeah, you can see it. Wow. It's not going to mean much when you're running around.
Yes, there are.
Because everything's going to be fucking blurred. But like, you stand still and stop. Yeah, you can literally see.
Modes. So the overall lighting quality remains intact and consistent regardless of how you play. The only drawback here is that the denoiser occasionally struggles in more extreme cases. It's not as speckly as Resident Evil Requiem, but it's definitely still noticeable. In particular, I noticed streaking and noise in areas of high contrast. Even so, lighting is a major pillar of the game's visual identity and works beautifully overall. I'll be curious to see how the game looks without ray tracing though, because it seems like the Xbox Series S version does not have this feature.
Okay. Always pick quality. Really can't tell much difference between high frame rates and all the other tech stuff. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Are you playing it on like TV as well?
Beyond that, I noticed some really
Or
great
monitor?
visual touches that I wanted to highlight. For instance, particle shadows. Smoke plumes cast real dynamic shadows that you can observe as you move around. You can see that here if we look at the
TV?
smokestack
Yeah.
and then turn the camera around, you actually see the shadows from the emanating smoke. It's very cool.
Sure.
And attacks from above actually do the same. It's a subtle feature, not something I've often thought about, but it really adds a surprising amount of depth when it hits.
So the Series X won't have that feature. Kind of crazy. Here's me saying that the Series X should be the same as the PS5 Pro.
Ray traced reflections are also something I noticed.
Might be added
With
later.
so much water and other reflective surfaces, it's impressive that every mode on PS5 Pro actually includes them. The system manages to blend ray traced reflections with SSR and assign distance fields for distant geometry. This is one area where I noticed a little bit of a difference in the performance mode though. The BVH tightens up around the camera, reducing the overall reflection radius. The results still look excellent, but it relies more heavily on the fallback solutions. But honestly, even still, it looks excellent, and the water itself is kind of a standout. Now, I discussed this with Alex in our initial PC preview, but the way the wave system works is super cool. Waves break and split around rocks, for instance. They wash up on shore and recede naturally. Wet surfaces pick up a specular sheen, and characters themselves even generate ripples that interact convincingly with the environment and other ripples.
Oh, that looks
When
good.
you climb into the mountains, you'll see water sort of streaming down the mountainside, right? And the way they've handled all the directionality of the water itself is extremely impressive.
Okay, so now did you notice though that the particle effects weren't as crazy, which kind of makes sense, right? So I think he's still playing it. I mean, you can still see them a little bit, but they're nowhere near what they were like in the other tech demo. And I don't know if he's playing in optimized now or if he's in quality. But I kind of prefer because the particles were a little hectic.
But crucially, the water also looks great at scale.
That looks
when
good.
Standing on a mountain looking out across the ocean, for instance, it's
Holy
still
shit.
convincing and beautiful. I also love how they simulate the penetration of light through the surface of the water, like standing in deep water here with your lantern. But the water in general is just beautiful throughout this game and a real visual highlight. The way they're able to scale from nearby ripples to a full ocean is very impressive.
Dude, I like this time of day is, yeah, I'm going to be spending a lot of time looking, like just stopping and looking around, because the night sky in the last video at this sort of time of day as well. Yeah.
And this idea of scale is kind of what surprised me the most. The developers have managed to deliver this combination of ridiculous near field detail at a huge scale that you can appreciate at a distance. Just stop and look around, right? Every scene is packed with this fine
This is back in
detail.
quality mode.
There's an absurd amount of foliage variety, for instance.
Jesus.
And all that foliage is affected by weather conditions, blowing realistically in the wind. When a storm starts to wind up, the trees whip around violently.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I just realized the volume is a bit low here.
Around you. But beyond that, they also react directly to the player and NPC movement as well. Yet it's perhaps the distant rendering of the trees that impressed me the most. You see, this is an area where games typically struggle. Yet here, trees far off in the distance are actually properly lit and shadowed, while still giving the perception of detail. Shadowing distant trees
and also still blowing in the wind.
A positive impact in the overall visual design, and it's something that most other games either skip completely or do in a very blobby, simple fashion.
Yeah.
And this sort of insane detail can also be said of the surfaces and textures throughout the game. These guys went wild with displacement mapping. It's not a new technique, obviously, but it's everywhere. What do I mean? Well, essentially, just look at the ground here. This allows the developers to simulate depth within a texture, lending that surface increased perceived detail without leveraging more geometry. As a result, every stone, every brick, and just about any other surface in the game is just exploding with visual detail like this. There are virtually no flat surfaces in Crimson Desert.
Sure.
I've never seen this technique executed at scale quite like this, and I do think it adds a lot to the presentation. But there is one downside. It can produce some visual bugs at times. Something I noticed especially in that first town. Stuff like this, for instance, right?
Yeah,
the larger issue can be seen when you look at areas where the texture sort of protrudes from the geometry, like this, on edges. There's sometimes flicker and pixelation along these surfaces. You'll notice it on rock walls, trees, and various other edges, just like that. It's worth mentioning, though, that this bothered me more when I first started the game, but after you start to make progress, you just kind of forget about it. The overall majesty of the visuals can...
Surely that's something they'll be continuing to work on, though. I mean, they're going to continue to optimize the game. It's not like they're just going to be like, oh, well, thanks, just rock and roll. No. I'm sure that'll keep improving that.
Either way, it's cool to see such a great technique return here. There's more to discuss in the visual side, but honestly, for now, I feel like it might be a good time to talk about the specifics around the PS5 Pro version of the game. After all, a lot of people are wondering just how it runs, and while you might have a good idea by now, there is more to discuss. So, as the spec sheet released by Pearl Abyss notes, there are 3 modes on most consoles, including PS5 Pro.
Oh! Okay, there's also 3 on the base. Okay. So on performance is 1080p, balanced is upscale 4K from 1280 with FSR 3. Quality is upscaled 4K from 1440p with FSR 3. So quality 30 FPS. Fuck, did I not see this? How have I missed this? Balanced is 40 with VSync. 1080 60 FPS. That's 1080 60. Or balanced 40 FPS upscaled 4K. Or quality 30 FPS with VSync. Who's just going to stare at the wall? You've got a whole ass game to play? Look, I mean, you know, there's probably going to be moments where you're just going to be like, holy shit, you know, especially at certain times of the day. You know, that twilight, man. Oh, dude, that's going to fucking... I'm just going to be staring at shit. Performance, okay, upscaled 4K. So all of them on the Pro mode it's all 4K from 1080 upgraded PSSR. Okay, I shouldn't say all, but like still upscaled. And then quality mode is just 4K native, but it's 30. And performance is 4K 60 FPS. So you could run balanced. Obviously, the ray tracing is high on the Pro versus the base. But you could run balanced. Sorry for throwing shade. No, it's all good, bro. It's all good. But yeah, balanced, you could run balanced. I'll probably run balanced. I'm going to try all 3, of course. But yeah, like you could probably get away with balanced, upscaled to 4K, and you'll have your kind of decent FPS. It's all going to, it's going to depend on combat because you'll feel it there. But otherwise, yeah, 4K 30, you know. What's the difference between that and the Series X? Okay, so you've got a 40 to 48 on FPS on balanced. And the balance is going from 1280, whereas on balanced on the Pro is 1440p starting. Okay. And the ray tracing is low on both performance and balanced, except on quality. Damn, I didn't realize the PS5 Pro was such a... Is it that massive a jump? Clearly it's a jump, but still.
Optimal, which is the performance mode, balanced in quality. This translates to internal resolutions of 1080p, 1440p, and 4K respectively, and our counts confirm this to be the case. Where it differs from the user experience you might have, however, is that the current build we had access to is running with the original PSSR, as opposed to what we affectionately call PSSR 2.
Okay,
thus, image quality
that's not going to affect us much.
Apparently, PSSR 2 is planned for launch, but In its current state, I can't really judge image quality yet, aside to say that the usual PSSR artifacts are indeed visible, with smearing around foliage and some ray tracing noise being the most obvious. It'll be very interesting to see how this changes with the upgraded PSSR. But the real reason to use the various performance modes actually stems from performance, and Crimson Desert offers some impressive flexibility here. Essentially, by default, each mode corresponds to a different frame rate target: 60 FPS for performance, 40 for balanced, and 30 for quality. The balanced mode, of course, requires a 120 Hz output to function correctly. The performance mode, though, puts up...
Okay, so for 40 you need 120 output. Your TV, do you know what it is? Think, God, my TV is pretty old. I think it's 60. This monitor though, this monitor is banging, so it should be fine. But I'm probably gonna, I mean, dude, we'll see how it goes. I'll probably end up on 4K quality though.
A good fight. I poured a solid 20 hours or so into the game, and most of that was spent in performance mode. By and large, that 60 FPS target is maintained. I was surprised by how good it is overall. But it was also enlightening playing this way without any sort of VRR, as it did help me identify specific areas where it can and does drop. Most of the time, that involves larger crowds. Anything involving tons of NPCs or enemies can drop the frame rate. That's not to say there aren't occasional dips in quieter spots like this, but overall,
whoa, look at the
most
water.
of the drops will happen when it's busy. Most
So the smoothing, like,
occasional
you'll get
dips in quieter spots like this,
yeah, that's around 60.
Overall, most of the drops will happen when it's busy. The most significant of which occurred during the Battle for Bug Hill, as I like to call it. Here, war is waging and casualties include the frame rate, which drops significantly, making it far and away the worst spot I found in the game so far. It starts out okay, sometimes hitting 60, sometimes dropping into the 50s, as you do, but once you actually reach the top of Bug Hill, the specific encampment here, we start to see some major drops, and I think this is actually made worse by kiting enemies around, because I came here before my character was ready and would die instantly if hit, so I have a ton of insects chasing me around. And as a result, we actually see the frame rate slip all the way into the 30s. I believe this section is very specifically CPU limited, as it deals with so many active enemies at once. It makes sense. You can trigger similar results in some of the game's large cities, especially when causing a ruckus like this. Once the crowd starts to panic and the guards rush the player character, the frame rate definitely takes a hit as well. Crucially, it is not the norm at all, so don't take that away from it. But it does show you that certain situations can bring the performance to its knees. In comparison, the 30
to its knees, I mean, it's still 30. It's not like it's tanking. But it is interesting that it's the Pro, and he's in, okay, this is quality mode, so we'll see, obviously, the frame rate's going to drop a bit more. But he was in dynamic. So dynamic can drop from all the way down to, like, in the 30s in very specific circumstances, even though he was running, dynamic, and it's trying to push for 4K.
and 40 FPS modes are largely more stable overall, holding their targets reasonably well. Like here, I visited Bug Hill in quality mode, and we're rendering 4 times the number of pixels here. It's 4K mode, right? Plus the graphics quality is increased even.
But it's solid.
Yet despite dipping into the 30s in performance mode, we're actually hitting a stable 30 FPS here in that quality mode, which is pretty great. Weirdly enough, the balance mode actually manages to hit a pretty stable 40 FPS in this area too. All of this can be influenced by dynamic elements, of course, like this run here in the 40 Hz mode. The reason it looks kind of fuzzy is that it started raining. So I'm running through this area in the rain. And yeah, we still see some dips here, but overall it's pretty good. Alas, this is a surprisingly heavy game, and I don't mean in terms of performance, I mean the way it feels to play. It seems intentional, but at 30 FPS, the camera and the character movement feel less responsive than I'd have normally liked. Thus, I do recommend the 40 or 60 FPS modes, which help a bit. The thing is, the game feels similarly heavy on PC, even at higher frame rates, so I think it's a design choice.
Okay.
Now, if not for capturing, I think I'd have probably stuck with the 40 FPS mode, since I feel like it finds a nice balance between image quality and performance. But once we factor in the new PSSR, it might actually make sense just to stick with performance the entire time.
Also, this isn't day one. It's not with the day one patch. You know, it's that massive patch, which is a lot of optimization. I want to go back. You said it was 4K 30 locked.
40 FPS. I believe this section is very specific.
Go where you just so that's
in comparison,
optimized
the
mode
30 and 40 FPS modes are largely more stable overall.
This is 4K 30 locked
reasonably well. Like here, I visited Bug Hill in quality mode, and we're rendering 4 times the number of pixels here. It's 4K mode, right? Plus, the graphics quality is increased even. Yet, despite dipping into the 30s in performance mode, we're actually hitting a stable 30 FPS here in that quality mode, which is pretty great. Weirdly enough,
I think, like, this is personal preference. Like, I'd rather it be locked at 30 and it stays there than the variable. You know what I mean? Like, if it's like to try and keep frames, like, yeah, I can understand it in like a really heavy combat situation where it's, yeah. But the thing is, like, I don't know. I think it's more immersion breaking for it to be like high quality and then go to fuzz and then come back. Do you know what I mean? If it's at 30 frames and it's locked and there's no dips, but it looks, obviously this is on the Pro, not on the base. We have to see what the base will be like, but yeah, I'd prefer a locked frame.
Balance mode actually manages to hit a pretty. Thing is, the game feels similarly heavy on PC. It might actually make sense just to stick with performance the entire time.
Whoa, I went too far forward.
Time.
If it's only ever a 30, you never experience drops. Yeah. You see, if it's locked, then it's just, yeah. And it looks good. That looked great. You know what I mean? Obviously, again, Pro versus base, but still, that looked great, and that was locked at 30 quality. Yeah.
The thing is, though, if you drop into the options menu, you might notice something else. There's a VSync toggle.
Huh.
Let me start by saying that if you're not using a VRR display, do not turn on this option. It is horrifically bad and clearly not intended for use without VRR. I mean, just look at this. The results are extremely awful. Don't use it, trust me. But it does become useful when combined with VRR. But mainly just in performance mode. You see, despite the 120 Hz container, the VRR in this game does not seem to support low frame rate compensation like some other major first-party titles. So when it dips out of the VRR range, screen tearing reappears. This makes the setting unsuitable for quality and even balanced mode because tearing does appear. When coupled with performance mode, however, it's legitimately cool and allows frame rates that go above 60 FPS. It's honestly the most responsive and smooth feeling mode in the game, and as you can see, manages to keep frame rates under control. I did a full walk from one area to the other, and it gives a good idea of what you can expect. Using this mode, you won't really detect frame rate dips at all outside of perhaps places like Bug Hill. Honestly though, when it comes to overall performance, I do think the results here are pretty good. When you consider the scope of the game and the reasonably high resolution targets, more than we see with any other UE5 games, that's for sure, the results are pretty impressive. Reflecting on all the various big open world games this gen, Crimson Desert is one of the better performers overall. It's not perfect by any means, and I do have some issues with certain image quality things, but still, I think it's fair to say that the console version, at least on PS5 Pro, is very good. So, with the performance situation firmly established on PS5 Pro, we await the other consoles to see how it stacks up there. But regardless, there are a few other cool things I wanted to talk about that caught my eye while playing this game.
Also, I wonder if, like, the the hesitation with the base console is they obviously want to have as much time as they can for optimization, right, as possible. So it's not like, I mean, I've seen some people panicking saying, I mean, it's Twitter, so if I can, take it with a grain of salt, but they're like, oh God, it's going to be the next Cyberpunk, holy shit. Okay, let's calm down. We're not talking two completely different, console gens. It's still the new gen, right? Like it's still, well, I should say new. It's the current gen. It's still now. It's not going to be as like egregious as the PS5 versus PS4 edition of Cyberpunk. Jesus. I think, look, it may be a scenario where you're going to be, obviously lower frames, low performance, but I mean, it's not, no. Anyway.
And to do that, I want to take you on a small journey. You see, early on, I made the decision to test the open world, not knowing what was in store for me, nor how large the game world really was. So I set a waypoint just out in the middle of nowhere to sort of guide me in the proper direction, and I just went.
But the point I was making is that, like, they're going to try and, wait for as late as they can, and they may even, give the same update they're going to do for the day one update, right, the day one patch. And maybe they're going to give that to Digital Foundry like a couple of days before release. Like, cool, it's the same patch, maybe that's the thinking.
It started smoothly enough. Riding across these gorgeous fields on my horse, I marveled at the realistic sky rendering, the atmospheric light scattering. It felt so realistic and impressive. I appreciated the sheer density of the environment around me, the grass blades swaying in the wind, the trees, the foliage, the interactions with the horse, the way every hoof matches the terrain. Yeah, there's definitely some visible LOD popping along the way, which I don't love, but given the scale and the performance, it's understandable. Eventually, I reached this lengthy wall running across the terrain and decided to ride full speed towards this scaffolding, and was surprised at how seamlessly you could leap off your horse and grab onto the structure. Very cool stuff. Of course, it was seemingly for nothing, as my horse was able to just walk right through here on the bottom when I called him. Oh well. So I continued, and my next idea was to sort of wreak havoc in a nearby field to test the game's physics and performance. That's where I discovered horse drifting, where you can essentially sharply spin the horse around in circles in a way that feels awesome. Impressively, most smaller objects in the environment can be knocked down or destroyed by simply ramming into them, making this a lot of fun. There is a small delay when destroying physics-based items, but still, it feels really great. I then rode towards a small...
Look at the size of this dude.
Nearby village and attempted to knock down these things as well, only to mistakenly reveal an enemy that was just hiding in the middle. Then suddenly, from off screen, a giant guard leaped into action and eliminated him immediately. Whoa.
Jesus.
With that, though, I decided to continue forward, looking for anything interesting, and it's here that I noticed the somewhat noisy ray-traced lighting visible along the foliage here, and that reminded me that we're looking at the original PSSR. We'll be very curious to see how this looks with the upgraded PSSR at launch.
Also, something that said the map is 80 square kilometers. What?
But moving forward, I decided it was time to play around with some guards just to sort of test the AI, right? The results, I thought, were interesting. So after angering them, I ran away and decided to climb up on the roof of this house just to see what would happen. Turns out these guards can climb as well, and they quickly tried to overwhelm me. While the shields clipping through the roof looks a bit awkward, the result...
Just doing a quick comparison. Red Redemption 2, 75. Skyrim, 37. Travel time is estimated 6 hours to walk across the map and 2 on horseback. It'll take you 2 hours to go from one side to the other on horseback. Holy shit. Yeah, bro, you're right. 80 to 110.
thought of fighting them on the roof.
Or you can walk for 6 hours.
Really interesting. I was
Take a
trying
day.
to kick them off,
You know?
knock them down the slope, etc., and was doing okay, but eventually they overwhelmed me. So I tried to run again, and this time they killed me, causing me to respawn nearby. And it's from this respawn point that I randomly stumbled upon this circus, and honestly, this one really surprised me as well because it felt strangely lively. There was no story reason to be here, at least not yet. But wow, look at this.
The traveling circus.
The frame rate, of course, was a little...
This kind of feels like spoilers almost. And I'm not going to stop watching, but shit.
little unstable here, but I was surprised to see that there was an actual circus
This is
performance
awesome.
happening inside this tent, all lit with real-time ray tracing. Very, very cool,
Yeah,
right?
I am.
But then I stumbled back outside and figured I'd
Especially the night sky, bro. The night sky scenes. Yeah.
mess with the AI again, so I tried to attack NPCs. This revealed that when you first swipe at NPCs, they actually just fall back and avoid your blade. But if you keep doing this, eventually the circle of pain draws around your character, and everything within this circle that is, say, a guard or an enemy will suddenly come for you. What impressed me, though, is the way in which the crowds dispersed. Not just randomly in all directions, rather they actually made their way as a group towards the exit in a panic as the guards then entered the scene to take me out. Which recalls something cool about fighting, because you see similar behavior with enemies as well. If, say, you're fighting some bandits and you kill most of them, there's a point where some remaining enemies might actually freak out and just attempt to run away from you. You can, of course, take them out with an arrow if you're a good shot, mind you. It's a neat touch that adds a tinge of realism to the encounters. I really like the AI behavior in this game. From there, though, I kept...
Dude, these actually are setting the bar, eh? Dude, Bullibus is setting the bar.
kept moving forward, and eventually that's...
You're going to play an open world without this and be like, why is it not? What the... Yeah. Very cool.
Bug Hill.
And it's their own engine.
As I mentioned earlier, and this was quite a shock when I first found it. You see, up until this point, everything had this sort of grounded medieval flavor, but suddenly we had mechanical insects, airships, balloons, orcs, all fighting on the side of the mountain, and it looked super cool. This is when I did some of my performance testing, of course, but eventually I survived Bug Hill and found this amazing orc city built upon a mountain, which looked wholly unlike anything else I'd seen in the game yet. The sheer level of detail, the pipes, and the ornate structures really impressed. But it was time to continue, and as night fell, I noticed a city in the distance, and that city seemed to be illuminated by electric lights. Sure enough, it was. This sort of farmland was just spread out across the terrain. At first, we thought it was Nazca lines, but it's actually an electric farm of some sorts. Very strange. Very different mood as well. The HDR in this scene, by the way, was very impactful. I loved both the lights with the strong highlight, as well as the beautiful night sky with its gorgeous volumetric cloud system. So I continued, climbing the mountain in the darkness with just my torch, fumbling around. Night is really dark in this game, and it makes navigation more treacherous. I ended up exploring the cliffs.
And just go, I need to go back. So we can go up to that dragon in the sky. Obviously, that's going to be later, but like you can fly up there and... What video was it? I think it was the first one where they were talking about like world things that were happening, and you can literally just grapple between them.
Dark in this game, and it makes navigation more treacherous. I ended up exploring the cliffs, engaging a few foes, before eventually finding this view, which is just awesome. Rather than diving in, though, I decided to take a left turn of sorts and make my way down to the shore to check out the water and take in the view. The water was beautiful. Of course, I was ready to capture this scene. It really feels like you're standing at the edge of the world, but of course, you're not. So I kept moving, this time walking down the beach, eventually reaching this sort of rocky terrain. That was where I decided to test the climbing system again, and yeah, it works similarly to Breath of the Wild. You have a stamina meter and can climb most surfaces. It's actually influenced by heat and cold as well, which makes it harder to climb such surfaces. What I really like about it, though, is the way the animation system successfully matches your character's hands to logical positions as you climb the surface. It feels very gratifying as a result.
Oh.
Eventually, I made it to the top, and waiting for me up here turned out to be a rainforest. And the mood shifted greatly because it's not just a rainforest, it actually started to rain. Your local torch lights up the droplets around you in a beautiful fashion as the area around your character is battered by the storm. Other lighting effects like this random blue glow from something produces dramatic results as well. What I loved about this sequence in the jungle is that the fog and rain combined with the thickness of the trees really limits your view. It really feels isolated, as if you were actually exploring a deep jungle.
So is it a design choice that the rain blurs the view so much? Not like it's tanking the graphics into, like, you know, no.
Along the way, I navigated rapids, appreciating that awesome water system, dealt with a few more enemies in their encampments, walked along some cliff sides, including making some leaps of faith, before eventually reaching the edge of the forest itself. And that's when the rain started to let up, which highlighted another cool detail. Rain actually leaves behind puddles that persist for hours of game world time.
Huh.
It's not just a binary thing where it's rainy or not. It actually comes and goes realistically, leaving its mark, something that really adds to the realism. By this point, though, I managed to climb up the side of this steep cliff and found myself staring out across the Crimson Desert itself. From the opening village to the top of this mountain here, it took me roughly 4 hours of traversal and exploration. So, yeah, I think you get it by now. The amount of variety on display here is outstanding. Yeah. And what I've shown you is just a small taste, a tiny path through the game world, a simple walk from one part of the map to another that became a memorable adventure. And this is before exploring the character's abilities or allowing the story to get started. I haven't felt this need to explore since games like Red Dead Redemption 2 or perhaps Breath of the Wild. This is without a doubt one of the most impressive open world
experiences. Look at that.
Games like Red Dead.
We can go everywhere.
Redemption 2 or perhaps Breath of the Wild. This is without a doubt one of the most impressive open world experiences I've ever had. I genuinely found myself asking the question, how the heck did they do this over and over again? It really is that cool. And all of it worked great on PlayStation 5 Pro, even in this pre-release state. Of course, it's not perfect. As noted, performance can dip at times. There are some visual bugs with the displacement mapping in RT, and in some cases actual bugs, like here in the desert where I found myself swimming above the water.
That stuff gets sorted.
Plus the loading sequence when loading a save is weirdly lengthy with this animation and music that sort of plays out before you drop into the world, which thankfully respawning on death is very quick and there's no other loading times during actual gameplay, so it's not a huge deal. Even with all that though, this is fantastic on PS5 Pro. They actually did it. Which brings us to the end of our first contact with the game. There's still so much more to explore here. I feel like I've just gotten started. And again, this is not a game that was super high on my hype list. It just kind of came out of nowhere. And yet, what I've played here just felt unbelievable at times, even on the console. So I'll be curious, of course, how it plays on other machines. And that's something we'll report on.
I was already hyped for this.
That's going to do it for this video, however. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Well, shit. Dude, yeah, I was already hyped. That's just like, you know, granted, we still need to see base console, but I mean, dude, I want to go back to where he was at. It was the locked 40.
Pretty impressive. Reflecting on all the various big open world games,
Shit,
this
it looks
Crimson
good.
Desert is one of
And this is on the
better
console.
performance overall.
Granted,
It's
bro,
not
but
perfect
still,
by any means.
this was the most
Visited
egregious
Bug Hill
area,
and
right?
enemies at once. It makes sense. You can trigger similar results in some of the
So that was the most egregious area. Then you put it down to locked
and bring
quality.
the performance to its knees. In comparison, the 30 and 40 FPS modes are
you can see it's not as smooth.
Largely more stable overall, holding their targets reasonably well. Like here, I visited Bug Hill in quality mode, and we're rendering 4 times the number of pixels here. It's 4K mode, right? Plus the graphics quality is increased even. Yet despite dipping into the 30s in performance mode, we're actually hitting a stable 30 FPS here in that quality mode, which is pretty great.
So if anybody on a TV, just chilling in the lounge, if 1080 or even like, I mean, it's not going to be...
Weirdly enough, the balance mode actually...
This looks so hazy, but I realize it's raining. This looks like haze.
manages to hit a pretty stable 40 FPS in this area too. All of this can be influenced by dynamic elements, of course, like this run here in the 40 hertz mode. The reason it looks kind of fuzzy is that it started raining.
Yeah.
So I think it's a design choice. Now, if not for capturing, I think I'd have really not intended for use. In comparison, the 30 and 40 FPS modes are.
So we need to see what this agreed. I'm sure they'll test it as well. They're gonna know. Well, we know this area tanks the shit out of it, so we're gonna go there and test it. We need to see what this area looks like on quality mode on the base console. And that'll be kind of like the last bit. You know what I mean? It's the last little thing to go, okay, cool. It's going to be fine. But I mean, again, it's not like PS4 versus PS5. It's,
largely more stable overall.
We'll get the upscaled 4K 30. And the thing we need to see is if it's locked. Like if it's a locked 30 in quality mode.
Holding their targets reasonably well. Like here, I visited Bug Hill in quality mode, and we're rendering 4 times the number of pixels here. It's 4K mode, right? Plus the graphics quality is increased even. Yet despite dipping into the 30s in performance mode, we're actually hitting a stable 30 FPS here in that quality mode, which is pretty great. Weirdly enough, the balance mode actually manages to hit a pretty stable 40 FPS in this area too. It started smoothly enough, riding across these gorgeous...
You only hope the massive world isn't just empty or full of bloat. No, I understand the fear, but I don't think it's the same.
Just fields on my horse. I marveled.
And the what kind of like gave it away a little bit was, when you just stumbled upon that
realistic
circus
sky rendering. Rather than diving in, though, I decided to take a left turn of sorts and make my way down to the shore to check out the water and take in the view. The water, but wow, the roof was really interesting.
There's going to be like set places in cities and like villages and,
to kick them off, knock them down the slope, etc., and was doing okay, but eventually they overwhelmed me. So I tried to run again, and this time they killed me, causing me to respawn nearby. Circus, and honestly, this one really...
Like, if this is a traveling circus, is this going to go around the map?
Surprised me as well, because it felt strangely lively. There was no story reason to be here, at least not yet. But wow, look at this. The frame rate, of course...
If it's just random stuff that's happening, whether you're interacting with it or not, like it's just... Life's just carrying on, And it's not like, oh, you need to go here and do this. It's not like a forced upon thing. Like, you're going to have your own objectives. But there's going to be random stuff that's just happening, whether you're interacting with it or not, or whether you're interested or not. That's kind of rad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like almost like a GTA vibe. That I kind of like. Where it's just a living, breathing thing.
It was a little one.
Like, they don't have their own... they did say it in the previous... What's his name, though? They don't have, like, full-blown GTA routines. They're all kind of, like, set in those places. So that is something to, like, note. But still, like, they're just going to carry on. And you're going to be doing your own thing. You know what I mean? Whereas Valhalla was like, yeah, you're going from location to location to location. And it was kind of, like, forced. I don't think it's going to be like that.
Here, but I was surprised to see that there was an actual circus performance happening inside this tent, all lit with real-time ray tracing. Very, very cool, right? But then I stumbled back outside and figured I'd mess with the
then you
AI
can just start
again,
causing
so I tried to attack
absolute
NPCs.
chaos.
This revealed that when you first swipe at NPCs, they actually just fall back and avoid your blade. But if you keep doing this, eventually the circle of pain draws around your character, and everything within this circle that is, say, a guard or an enemy will suddenly come for you. What impressed me, though, is the way in which the crowds dispersed. Not just randomly in all directions, rather they actually made their way as a group towards the exit in a panic as the guards then entered the scene to take me out.
That's awesome.
Which recalls something cool about fighting, because you see similar behavior with enemies as well. If, say, you're fighting some bandits and you kill most of them, there's a point where some remaining enemies might actually freak out and just attempt to run away from you. You can, of course, take them out with an arrow if you're a good shot, mind you. It's a neat touch that adds a tinge of realism to the encounters. I really like the AI.
It's dynamic. Makes a big difference.
Quite a shock when I first found it.
Was that just a hand rolling down the hill?
From there, though, I kept moving forward. Quite a shock when I first found it. Quite a shock when I...
Yeah.
This was quite a shock when I first found it. You see, up
bot.
until this point, everything had this sort of ground built upon a mountain, which looked wholly unlike anything else I'd seen in the game yet. The sheer level of detail, the pipes, and the ornate...
And you can literally go up to that blimp.
Structures really impressed.
Right?
But it was time to continue. And as night fell, I noticed a city in the distance, and that city seemed to be illuminated by electric lights. Sure enough,
what do they call it? It's the future.
This sort of
the future
farmland was just spread out across the terrain. At first, we thought it was
all of this, bro.
Lines, but it's actually an electric farm of some sorts. Very strange. Very different mood as well. The HDR in this scene, by the way, was very impactful. I loved both the lights with the strong highlight, as well as the beautiful night sky with its gorgeous volumetric cloud system. So I continued, climbing the mountain in the darkness with just my torch, fumbling around. Night is really dark in this game, and it makes navigation more treacherous. I ended up exploring the cliffs, engaging a few foes, before eventually by heat and cold as well, which makes it harder to climb such certain. The decision to
again, I was already hyped.
Riding across these gorgeous fields on my horse, I marveled at the realistic sky rendering.
Again, we'll need to see what the base console is, but I mean,
output to function correctly.
If we can do a lock 30.
But the real reason to use the various performance modes actually stems from performance.
Upscaled 4K.
And Crimson Desert offers some impressive flexibility here. Essentially, by default, each mode corresponds to a different frame rate target. 60 FPS for performance, 40 for balanced, and 30 for quality. The balanced mode, of course, requires a 120 Hz output to function correctly. The performance mode, though, puts up a good fight. I poured a solid...
So generally, if,
60
like, let's say a lot of people's TVs are 1080, you know, and they're running like 60 Hertz or 4K 60 Hertz, then they're going to be generally switching between the quality mode or the performance mode. And on the base console, that was what, 1080? Yeah, 1080. Right, so let's say that in certain circumstances, if you've got a TV or monitor that's got 120, then you can switch to the 40. Otherwise, most people will probably be switching between performance and quality. Unless, obviously, their TV is just like 1080. No, I suppose you could still do, because it'll be upscaled, right? Yeah. So then, it's 30 FPS VSync. We need to see if it's locked. But, I mean... I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know. We need to see. I imagine that they wanted to try and fix the frames, though. Like, make that the target. So if would it be that it's slightly dynamic with the quality will slightly drop to keep it at lock 30? The ray tracing is high as well. Dude, we need to see, man.
There are 3 modes on most
consoles.
But like,
honestly, yeah.
In its current state, I can't really judge image quality yet, aside to say that the usual PSSR artifacts are indeed visible, with smearing around foliage and some ray tracing noise being the most obvious. It'll be very interesting to see how this changes with the upgraded PSSR. But the real reason to use the various performance modes actually stems from performance. In Crimson Desert,
it's cool
frame rate. That's not to say there aren't occasional.
Let's go back there. That's the 4K 30 lock.
Most of the time, that involves larger crowds. Anything involving tons of NPCs or enemies can drop the frame rate.
That looks so good. Look at that. It looks so good. Yeah.
That's not to say there aren't occasional dips in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's call it there. Otherwise, I'm just going to be sitting watching this over and over again. Oh, dude, that's cool. That's very cool. I think, again, like I was already hyped, but now I think, you know, I think there's a fair amount of PTSD from how many games have launched and they've been absolute. Actually, let me leave that in the background. Cool. And they've been absolute potatoes, you know. I think everybody's kind of like, yeah, holding their breath a bit. But I mean, dude, look at this. And this is the most egregious area where they've so far that they've found where the performance drops. And it's like, okay. Yeah. I don't think a lot of the like panic and stuff online, that needs to, again, people need to calm down. It's not like, it's not going to be Cyberpunk. It's not, you know. Again, they're going to want to try and optimize it as much as they can before release. But I would imagine they're going to give it to these guys like a couple of days before it drops, maybe like a day or two at the most. And be like, cool. Okay. You know? Looking forward to the time when ask how far along you are and you're like, yeah, man, I've been looking at stars. So not far, dude, it's going to happen. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna get so distracted. This is an ADD person's fucking nightmare. There's so much going on. I say nightmare. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna be doing this. I'm literally this is gonna take over the channel. You know, I'm gonna play it on all the days I stream. Fuck it. It's so massive. 80 to 110 square kilometers. That's absurd. And we can go, you know. Oh, and I just saw a trailer that dropped. Apparently there's a fucking jetpack as well. Jesus, dude. Every time I think I've got a handle on all the features, they're like, oh, by the way, and there's a train, you know? Just that he literally grappled onto, and then he was flying with the jetpack. Dude. Have you watched the launch trailer? Yeah, I literally was just talking that. Yeah, dude, how nuts? Should we watch that quickly? Fuck, let's watch that quickly. Another thing that's just absurd. There's literally a jetpack. It's just like, fuck. Of course there is. You know? Yeah, through GameSpot, why not? Fuck it.
It's time. To take back what was stolen. So, you're finally here. You were expecting me?
Well, you Greymanes are a hard lot to kill, clawing your way back from death's door over and over. How'd you do it? Let's find out, shall we?
Oh, dude, that parry. Yep. There's the train. You just grapple onto. Cool, thanks. Riding a dragon, of course. There's the jetpack, dude. What? Absolute time suck in the best way. Yep. Hours. Holy shit. Yeah, well, yeah. We go back to the jetpack. Right. What was interesting as well in the gameplay, this had there was a stamina meter on when you were floating around, right? So obviously the more we extend the stamina, the more we're going to be able to, like, longer we can fly, and I'm imagining these, you know, reset your stamina bar so you can continue to carry on flying. And this will probably have a fuel limit or something. Still. There goes your social calendar, yeah, bro. And there's going to be so much to discover. Yeah, I'm hyped. Yep. Can't wait. And it's 7 days away. Literally a week. A week. And we're jamming. Oh, awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I'm getting I'm so glad I decided to cancel what's his name? Cancel Yote and get this collected. Shit, that was a good decision. It was a bit of a gamble in the beginning, but fucking it's turned out to be the right call. Oh, that's awesome. Anyway, I'm not going to say that, I'll see you guys on the 19th, because they're probably going to release some more stuff and I'm going to jump on it. So I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully, it'd be nice to see what the other console performance is. Hopefully I don't know if they'll do like an Xbox S versus X, or if they'll do all the other consoles in one, or I don't know. Yote's a great game though. Okay. That's good to know. Dude, I love the fact that you could sit down and make a fire and cook. That was one thing that I was keen to jam on. Anyway. So I'm just going to say I'll see you guys in the next one. It'll probably be, a couple of days, and then, there'll be something else that's going to drop. I'll be like, okay, here's another one. I'm going to have to do some sort of like recap of every single thing that they've added, I have no idea how I'm going to do that, but yeah, we need to go over at least all the features. And every time there's a new trailer, there's more added, so I might as well wait. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And enjoy the rest of your, what is it today? It's Thursday. Fuck. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Bye.